We're giving a brief overview about this week. I'm going to talk about actually the next 2 weeks, what our the assignments are, and then go back to and giving an overview about the teaching models. So we are in week number 3. We already read about the chapter 1, what the teaching model is, and next 2 weeks, which is week number 4 and 5, are gonna be about behavioral family of teaching models. For week 4, you're gonna be reading 3 chapters and providing simple reflections by next Sunday. And week 5, you don't have readings, but you're gonna be turning in your behavioral model application. You're gonna be using a template that I created already, and it's a Google document. So basically you're going to make a copy of that and fill in the information, then share its link on the blog page. The instructions for these 2 weeks are actually on the blog page as well. So going back to teaching models, I'm going to be quite short. Instead of giving a summary, I'm just going to emphasize some main points. So where do teaching models come from? I mean, there are a lot of resources out there. I think number one is yourself, teachers, super teachers who have experiences, both good and bad. You try out new things, you succeed, you fail. We do try new things, but our practices inform a lot of things about teaching. What's a good teaching? What's a bad teaching? We know that what works for us, what doesn't work for us sometimes. And then we continue what we do and we try to improve ourselves. But sometimes what works for us may not work for others, or the other way around. It's simply because that kind of knowledge and experience may not be generalizable. There are a lot of factors that affect why certain methods and methodologies might be effective for certain kinds of learning. So that's where the research really comes in, and try to control many variables as much as possible, and try to see, under what conditions certain models might work, certain strategies, teaching methods might be effective or not. And that kind of research informs, hopefully, what we teach. We develop teaching models, we develop teaching strategies. And our experiences and applications of those models also inform research. Then, we learn something, then we move on, then there will be more research about what we do and how we do about it. So it's really, teaching models are not something we make up, but it's really experiences and research out there that tells us what might be a good way of teaching. So there are some characteristics of all these teaching models, some common characteristics. Of course, they are different. I don't know if you can recall any of them from the reading, but I just list some of them. I think number one is definitely they just go beyond learning certain content. We really help learners gain some learning strategies so that they can become good learners. It's about learning maybe how to learn. And definitely there is a focus of certain kinds of knowledge, skills, and values that we really want students, learners to really construct. In that process, we help them, we scaffold them. We help them move from one point to another. We help them improve. But that is not going to be possible if you do not know what they need. So we need to kind of assess them time to time, formatively, to understand what they really need so that we can provide different kinds and levels of scaffolding. Our focus, like I said, is not just content, but other skills, like 21st century skills, technology skills sometimes, collaboration, cooperation, working together. So creativity, all these things are, I think, the common characteristics of models. They are different, yet these models are not mutually exclusive. There are certain things that they have, similarities, and sometimes we can ask ourselves if this is that model or that model. That's really not important. I think what important is sometimes to identify the strategies that comes with these models and whether those will really work for us under certain conditions or not. So throughout the semester, we're going to read these models, and then you're going to be coming up with your applications of these models. In these slides, I'm just basically giving some overviews, because this chapter was also an overview as well. starting with behavioral family, which really talks about and is based on the notion of how learners respond to certain stimulus. Um, some Here's a list of certain strategies like direct instructions, master learning, and explicit instruction. I'm not going giving details in each because that's what we will read for next week. But it's really about how learners respond to certain stimulus and what we can do, what kind of feedback and practice opportunities we can give these learners to master certain units, certain contents, certain concepts, um, and modeling some strategies. This is all about behavioral family. The next one is going to be about information processing family. Um, this again is not mutually exclusive from the other one, behavioral family. Definitely there are certain kinds of stimuli that is out there for learners to process, but it's really about how, as learners, we process a given information, how we can acquire that, organize, and making sense of a given information. So a lot of things that we do in our minds and our mental efforts really inform this family of teaching models. Again, here's a list of some strategies related to this family of models. I'm not going through all of them, but we're going to read about it. Social family, which is really emphasizing the collective energy that we create when we work together. If we are basically expected to work together outside in the world, outside the school settings, and why do we actually promote those kind of skills in the schools, in our teaching? So that's, I think, the main emphasis of and importance of why social family is important, of teaching models is important for us as educators. Here's again a list of strategies that we will review later in the semester. Personal family is again, as I mentioned in the beginning, it's more focusing on, I think, the learners as independent uh, selves, that they have to have their goals, that they have to have their strategies. So it's really helping students be more confident about what they need to learn and informing them what they really need to do it. It's really helping learners have to learn. Some of the strategies that we're going to read later in the semesters include non-directive teaching and developing positive self-concepts. So I don't know if you have a favorite of this model so far, because it was just an overview based on chapter 1, but I'm sure you're going to have more ideas as we read more specifically of each model. And I just wanted to show just one slide. I mean, I think how we apply this, how we see teaching, how we see students, our roles, and how we believe others see ourselves as educators. I just wanted to provide this slide here based on the activity we completed last week about, how you see your teaching. I mean, most of you really consider teaching as an evolving, I think, aspect. It is important. It requires a lot of creativity, but it evolves. I think it's simply because maybe students change. They are unique. They are different. As time progresses, everybody's needs different. We have different environments that we need to take into account. So that's why teaching definitely will evolve all the time. And because of that, you see your role as an educator is quite challenging. You are passionate. You feel that it's important to be a researcher, an advocate for students learning. It's an important role, but yet it's still challenging simply because things are not set in stones. Students are changing, their needs are changing, and we have to let our teaching change as needed. I think the good thing about all this changes is that you still see that, believe that others see you as knowledgeable and competent and skilled. That's true. You are competent, you are knowledgeable, and that's the advantage of you as a teacher. You are an expert in that content you're teaching. It's I think a matter of trying to understand what students really need and how we can really have those needs met through our knowledge, through our competence as teachers. So I'm going to end this presentation here, but if you have any questions about these slides or anything about this course until now, just let me know. You can shoot me an email. Just thank you for listening.